incident where they actually saw the spirit of this boy hiding behind the curtain on one pass, and then when the camera passed again, they saw the boy standing there with a high-powered rifle. And they're like, what in the world is this? There's no teenage boy on set, there's no hunting rifle on set. So they called in Lorraine, and she discerned that this boy committed suicide with this rifle. And I turned to Lou and I said, that'd be so cool to work with them. And he said, yeah, no kidding. The very next day, he called me and said, you aren't going to believe who just called me. And I asked, who? Ed Warren. And I said, come on, you know. Ed was starting to have heart issues. He wanted a medic for their team. He called the chief of EMS in Norwalk, who recommended my friend Lou. Called Lou, invited him to their Monday night meeting in their house in the downstairs basement area, and I said, you have to get me in there. It's time, right? It wasn't time 4 years earlier when I read the book. And everything that's happened to me since has happened through this chain of synchronicities. And this is the universal law of intention, right? That'd be so cool to work with them. Yeah, no kidding. But it just so happened that this opened up for me. And it was phenomenal. And so Lou got to go to their meeting. He told Lorraine all about this amazing synchronicity. She knows all about synchronicities. They're not coincidences. When you understand your power as a creator, as a manifester, synchronicities happen. And so she said, invite Jason to the next class. I got to meet Lorraine, and the very first question she asked me was, how strong is your faith, honey? And I said, I have immense faith. I believe that I and the Father are one. And she asked, why do you want to get involved in work of this nature? And I said, well, I read The Demonologist. I was really concerned for these families, especially the young kids that were experiencing these absolute horrors. And she asked, so it's a calling then? And I said, I believe so. I believe it is. I really want to help. I need to understand this better. I want to help these people. So she welcomed me aboard. And the thing that was amazing to me, after listening to all the cases that they were investigating with all the other investigators there, amazing people, some of whom I'm still really good friends with, some have passed, some have divorced and moved on, they're no longer involved, but their history is real, and their cases that we've all investigated together are real. In fact, I'm starting to write about those now. So what was most amazing to me is that the Warrens told us about this case that was happening in Devon, Connecticut. Newlywed couple, had a baby, they had a new house, it was an old house, 2-story, 2 bedrooms on the upper level, and they would see this full apparition walk through the wall in their bedroom, pay no attention to them whatsoever, walk down the hallway into the baby's room, stand in front of the crib, scare the baby out of its wits, walk right through the crib, or right through the house, right up through the wall out of the house. I said, well, I'll borrow Mom's camcorder, when they all had VHS camcorders. I'm dating myself, but this is 1990. And I drew the blinds in the room. Oh, the thing that blew me away is they sent Lou and I to investigate this case on our own, representing the Warrens themselves, on our first day. It was Lou's second week, it was my first day. You know, like, what? You know? So it was very interesting. But what was really fascinating about it is I aimed the camera at the wall, I drew the blinds, I lit some candles in the room so there'd be a little bit of light, and Lou and I, and the husband and wife, waited down the hallway, peering down the hall, waiting to see this apparition. My dream was going to be answered. I was going to see this full apparition walking down the hallway, right? So we're looking and waiting, and all of a sudden we hear a crack, and this big blue flash of light happened, like lightning had gone off in the room. And we all looked at each other with our jaws hanging slack. Did you see that? And we all saw it. And we're waiting. Oh, it's a portal opening, it's a vortex, something's happening, she's going to go walk down the hall. Nothing. 30 minutes, we walked into the room, we smelled an almond smell, like a sickly sweet almond smell. And we went back into the bedroom, waited. Exactly 30 minutes later, it happened again, and the smell was half as intense. Upon looking at the video cassette, there was absolutely nothing. We heard my voice saying, we've just experienced a second flash of light. We're all crushed. I thought we were going to get the great evidence of all time in our first case, and nothing at all was on the tape, except when Lou said, you hear that? I'm like, what? A heartbeat. Very faint heartbeat that we all would have missed, except Lou's a trained paramedic. He identified a specific heartbeat, and I believe it was a diarthritic heartbeat. That's a diarthritic heartbeat. And then another heartbeat. That's an arthritic heartbeat. And a third heartbeat. And he literally turned white as a ghost. There was never any body close enough to the camcorder for it to pick up the sound, nor was it sensitive enough to pick up a heartbeat inside a living body. Yet there it was, as clear as day. So I dropped the tape off the next morning, and then we waited until the next class, which was the following Monday night, and Lorraine basically said that she was there. The spirit of the woman was there, but she wasn't going to give us any evidence. Well, what was with the blue light? Anybody know? What happens in these cases is, and this is where I now approach all of this phenomenon, is the pineal gland has rods and cones. It's photosensitive. It's been called the third eye for a reason throughout the millennia. It's our interdimensional connection. So what had happened is she bypassed our physical eyes and sent this blue flash right into our pineal glands. It's how we have a full-color dream in a pitch-black room with our eyelids shut. It's how we daydream. This is our interdimensional connection. And these entities, or spirits, or consciousness, is all it is operating outside of the perception, the normal perception of the human body. So the human perception is only capable of seeing visible light. It's what's visible to us, right? Well, that's less than 1% of the electromagnetic spectrum. We can see less than 1% of the matter, space, and energy around us. And we say, well, if I can't see it, it doesn't exist, right? Well, that is ridiculous. And quantum physics has turned Newtonian physics on its ear and has proven that nothing is physical, everything is vibration. The greatest thinkers in history, Nikola Tesla and Albert Einstein, have both said that. Everything is vibration. If you want to understand the universe, think of vibration, okay? So quantum physics says that none of us are physical at all. We're electromagnetic state. But we can't perceive that because we can only see that 1%. So what this woman did was she projected that light into our third eyes. Does everybody come follow me on that? It's how you hear when you're sitting in your house alone, or you're in a haunted house, or investigating a haunted house, and you hear footsteps above you. And you know no one is home. No one's up there. There's no physical weight being applied to the floorboards to make them creak, yet there is the creaking sound right in our ears. How is this happening? My mentor and friend Ed Warren always said, all hauntings begin in the mind. So if it's all perceived through the pineal gland, they're able to project the sound of the creaking floorboards. They're able to project the smell of the cigar that old Grandpa Bill used to smoke, right? Or the almondy perfume, or the heartbeat. There's no physical heartbeat there. How are we hearing a clear heartbeat? He was really spooked. And Lou has seen horrors, being a combat medic and also a paramedic. But he was really scared. But he was interested in getting involved in this. But this is how these things happen. It's all consciousness. So we are, what's your name? Mm-hmm. Okay, I shouldn't have said that. Who are you? Me? That's close. Who are you? Okay. We're not Rosalie or Stephanie or the gas station attendant or the bartender or Bob, the parent, any of that stuff. Those are all aspects of our current experience that we're having. We are formless awareness. We're consciousness. Temporarily taking physical form, even though it's not physical, to experience or express ourselves here in this third dimension, which is, again, vibration. It's a very dense vibration, right? To experience the illusion that I'm me, that you're you, that you're you, and that you're you, and that nothing we do to each other affects us, and that we're not connected to each other or to nature or to our Creator. We're all basically just complete strangers and individuals with no connection, yet we're all connected. Speaking to you tonight, I'm connected to every one of you. And there's where we get into this case. The most profound thing that ever happened to me, I wanted to see a spirit, right? I wanted to see that ghost, that apparition walk down that hallway. And I didn't get to see it, but I saw the light. So I knew, on my very first case, mind you, people who investigate could spend their entire lifetimes and experience nothing like that. But I knew this was something I was meant to do. And I'm not any more special than anybody else. We all have the ability to be psychic. Why? Because we all have functioning pineal glands. So I was listening to the questions that were being posed earlier, and I couldn't really hear the questions, but I did hear the answers from my colleagues over there. And give it up for them, because they were really good too. So we're all here because we're seekers, right? We want to understand things. You're all here because you want to understand things a little bit better. And it just so happens that some of us have experienced things that we can relate to tonight. And I'm really pressed for time, so I usually go on for half a day or a full day, because there's so much information. But I wanted to experience it. So I went on several cases with the Warrens. Ed took me in my first demonic case, and I didn't run out of there screaming. I just stood there and I was trying to discern, as Lorraine asked. She said, the more you're involved in cases of this nature, honey, the more your sensitivities will increase. And we'll see what those become. The pineal gland becomes calcified as we grow older. It's the size of a pea in most people. It's in the center of the left and right hemispheres of the brain. It is the interdimensional conduit that gives us our creativity. It gives us our connection to Creator if we have one. We all have one, but we just need to remember that there is something much greater that we're all part of. It's the ocean, if you will, the Creator, the quantum field, the cosmic field. It's the ocean, and we're just the droplet. We're all droplets in the ocean. We think we're individual droplets, but when we're immersed back into the ocean, we're all one. Spiritually, we're all one. Physically, we have different parents and so forth, our own stories, and we think that, we're so much more special than each other, but we're all the same when it comes down to it. So, the pineal gland becomes calcified through fluoride. That's why they put fluoride in the toothpaste, and fluoride in the dental work, and fluoride in the water, because they want to cut everybody off. It calcifies your pineal gland and cuts you off from that higher connection, so everybody's on a level playing field. The illusion that we're all separate becomes permanent unless you decalcify it, which you can do. Children have a functional pineal gland. They can see invisible friends, they can see spirits. It's just a natural function, okay? Just like the little girl in my Dark Siege case, she was able to perceive the spirit in the cemetery, which began this horror for this family. And it becomes calcified. So fluoride is the reason, and also, like Debbie was saying, when you're meant to grow up, well, these things aren't real now, it's time to focus on reality. Well, that is reality. We're in a multi-dimensional reality. We are multi-dimensional beings existing on multiple dimensions simultaneously, right? And we're in a soup of frequencies, so we can't see more than that 1%. So when people say they're ghost hunters, that which really gets me, because we don't hunt humans. What do we think we're hunting ghosts for? And if we can only perceive 1%, and they can perceive 100%, who's really hunting who? I really like to make a graphic and have like all these monsters standing behind the ghost investigators with little flashlights, because they can see them. They're all around us, right? Every one of us has spirits around us, and most of them are good, guardians and guides and angelic beings, loved ones who are looking out for us, ancestors, all that stuff. But we can also very easily pick up other entities. And it's not just human and demonic, right? We're in a multi-dimensional universe. We have interdimensional beings, and the stuff that we've encountered is incredible. It's just like Call of Cthulhu type of stuff. Is anybody familiar with that? Cthulhu stuff? It's crazy. The things that are out there. And we have the ability to defend ourselves from these things. It's all vibration. So if we're loving, kind, heart-centered, compassionate individuals, that is our polarity. If we're hateful and vengeful and nasty and egoic and all the negative emotions, right? Fear is one of those, which is really the guiding force behind all of it. What do we attract into our lives? Your intention is everything. Always. Especially when it comes down to Ouija boards. That's a whole other subject. But Ouija boards, if you're intending to open a conduit of communication or a channel of communication with an entity, and you're actually using a physical device, the reason Ouija boards are so dangerous, in my opinion, I always call it the most dangerous piece of negative occult paraphernalia there is. And for good reason. So you're holding the planchette, not getting fully possessed at that point, but you're actually inviting them into your auric field, giving them permission, which is the worst thing you can ever do, is give anybody permission to do that. But you're creating a very dangerous situation. It's the most dangerous because no other device allows you to use your hands. Right? Well, pendulum is different, but you're usually doing your own higher self, your only higher consciousness or spirit, right? Your guides. You're issuing a statement with a bullhorn. Are there any spirits out there who wish to communicate with me? Well, where's here defined? In this room, in this house, on this property, in this county, state, country, continent, planet, galaxy, universe, dimension. Where's the border? Where's the definition? Where's where's it quantified? Nowhere. So you're giving a blanket invitation to any of these entities that are around us all over the place, outside of that 1% that we can perceive, and we think, oh, nothing happened. So what are the chances that something happened, but you can't see it, just because you can see that 1%? And there's a good chance nothing will happen. And saying goodbye and so forth, using it by declaring, only beings who are of unity consciousness are here for my highest good, are allowed to communicate with me, is one way you can say something. I don't suggest ever using the Ouija board. In fact, when I was in Salem, Massachusetts, selling my books at a Haunted Happenings event for the whole month of October 2014, I started to have the store owners come over and yell at me because everybody that came up to my table with a Ouija board in their bag, I said, return them, please, And you're ruining my business. It's like, I'm saving people's lives, really, So, they're dangerous. Stay away from them. Don't open doors that you don't need to open, right? Be loving and kind to one another. And if we all saw ourselves as the droplet, right, in the ocean, I use a golden light, for instance. If we all saw, so we get into orbs earlier, right? By synchronicity. My entire freshman class at Eastern Connecticut State U had to read Life After Life by Dr. Raymond Moody, a book about near-death experiences. Why in the world would an entire freshman class have to read a book for required reading English 101 about near-death experiences? Does that sound bizarre? It sounds bizarre to me. No? Okay. I think it's pretty weird, right? As a subject matter. Anyway, so there's the most fascinating case was two 18-year-old boys went whitewater rafting. The raft flipped. One got pinned underneath the weight of the waterfall. He felt, I'm going to die, I can't get out. I'm trying to really rush this. But he felt, this is it. So he breathed in the water and he felt warmth. He felt like his arms were contracting. Felt like his legs were contracting. Until he was nothing but an orb. Willed himself to rise above the water. Just by willing himself to do so. Saw his friend frantically trying to find him. I'm here, I'm okay. He's vibrating outside of that 1% that his friend, who's still embodied, can perceive. Yet he knows he's fully aware and fully conscious. But how am I able to see when I know my body's down there? My eyeballs are down underneath that water. How can I see in a 360-degree arc, mind you? Right? How am I able to hear when I damaged my ear when I was 6 years old with a firecracker explosion? So talking sounds, everybody stick your ear, close your ear flap. It's really strange, right? That's how he was able to hear from age 6 all the way to 18. Yet he can hear clearly, not only hear clearly, but he can see and perceive colors that he can't even describe because there's no reference for the embodied. He can hear things perfectly. Those physical ears are underneath the water. And how can he make sense of what he can see and hear if his brain is in the body underneath the water? Because we're consciousness. And when you're outside of this insulated body, you're able to perceive far more than that 1%. And you can't even relate it when you come back from a near-death experience because there's no frame of reference. How do you describe a color that doesn't exist that we can see? Okay, so we're multidimensional beings, we're conscious awareness. No matter what happens to the body, we are completely unscathed. So I'd always use this analogy. If the roof collapsed here, right now, we'd all be crushed, right? Most of us would return to Source, Creator, because that's our goal. I intend, should I find myself outside of my body, I choose to return home to my Creator. That's one thing I always say all the time, okay? But we'd all realize, wow, I'm still alive. I'm still me. Yeah, I can perceive so much more. There's all these geometric patterns when you see if we could see all the spirits around us right now, we'd probably really freak out, right? But these are just entities that are vibrating outside of our range of frequencies to decode. Okay. You with me? I'm really rushing this, right? Because normally it can take a long, long time. So, we went, take my time? All right. Anyhow, we became aware of a case in Vermont, and I was the youngest guy on the team. I was the most enthusiastic, I guess, so I volunteered to drive in my mom's brand new Caravan that she just bought, okay? So I got up early in the morning, Saturday, November 10th, 1990, and this was an event, a case that completely changed my life. Every case that I'd been on was a phenomenal journey that allowed me to realize this is all very real, and everything's happening specifically as it's supposed to happen, step by step by step. I got in the van, first thing in the morning, 6 in the morning, and I did something I'd never done. I washed this van in the blood of Jesus Christ so that it and its passengers arrive safely and return safely. Amen. Where did that come from? I know now. I now know, but I didn't know then. I got on the Merritt Parkway from Westport, heading up toward Trumbull, Monroe, where the Warrens lived. And I was in the left lane. I saw a black BMW. I didn't know it was a BMW at the point, but I saw a black car racing up behind me in the right lane. I said, okay, he's in a sports car. He's just going to blow by me. And he pulled right parallel to me. I'm like, what? I'm very cautious, paying attention. Why is this guy right there? Goes up further, 2 car lengths ahead, and just stays there instead of just screaming beyond me. I thought that was bizarre. Then the car started to vibrate, started to shake, started to fishtail, right? Right into my lane. Plowed right into him at a 90-degree angle, blew his window out. He said it was like I hit solid ice. November 10th. State police came. The van was drivable. I was unharmed. The guy was unharmed. And they said there's no ice on the road. They don't understand what happened. The guy was at fault. I was really upset that Mom was going to kill me because the van got smashed, ran in. But by the time I got off the road to the Fairfield payphone to call the Warrens, there were no cell phones back then, 45 minutes late, and I told Lorraine what had happened, she almost called the whole investigation off. And she realized that something took control of that car and flung it in front of the vehicle, preventing me from getting there on time, maybe trying to injure me, trying to prevent us from getting up there. So I arrived late, I pull up, and Johnny Zaffis was there because he was working with the Warrens at the time, as were about 4 or 5 other people, and he's drinking his coffee, and everybody's looking at their watch, making fun of me, thinking that I overslept or something. But when I walked inside, Ed asked me very seriously, he said, do you still feel capable of going? Are you willing to continue? I said, sure. He said, I see, Lorraine, I told you it was tough. Back my shoulder. He was always making jokes. Why? Jokes raise the vibration, frequency, love, laughter, okay? Raise the vibration. Make yourself less vulnerable to these spirits. Anyway, we got up to the house, all the way from Vermont. The family had fled days earlier. We're in the field taking photos. I never got into the photos or the gadgets or all that stuff. I wanted to perceive these things and see these things myself, right? And the story was that this woman who was going into labor about 150 years prior was being rushed to the house to go give birth, and the wagon flipped. The body of the mother and the infant, the baby, unborn baby, were mangled. And this woman was seen in the house. Lorraine discerned that she was lurking in the house. And there she went. The last thought was, get to the house and deliver the baby, so there she remains. Okay? There's no space or time outside of the third dimension. To them, it just occurred. That's why you see them in the garment or the clothing that they had on when they died. That's why they don't change clothes. You never see a wardrobe change from these spirits, right? So her, it just happened. Where's my child? Where's my baby? And that's why she was in the house. There were other very dark spirits in there as well. Ed always said that they always come in to ruin the party and siphon off the energy of the other human spirits and to kind of use them as slaves, like talk about human trafficking, right? Soul trafficking. So we were in the field, and I felt like she was behind me. Everybody else was walking out toward the house again, so we were going to go and try to initiate communication. And I turned around, this is what changed my life. I turned around and I said, come back to the house with us. Couldn't see her, right? But to her, he can see me, right? I made a connection with him. I didn't know it at the time, but we had a connection, okay? We're all connected. We're connected at that point. So when we're initiating communication inside this huge, I have the audio cassette. In fact, every time I do a show, I said I have the audio cassette. I should have brought it to play it. I'll do that next time, I swear. And you'll hear it. Remind me. So they've been to several of my presentations before. Awesome. And anyway, so we got inside. There's a huge Amish farm table. Ed, Lorraine, myself, and Andy, John. This guy Joe Hayjack, he's no longer with us, but Donna and Joe, we call him Ecto Joe because he got great ectoplasm photographs coming off, this ectoplasm coming off of him and two of the other investigators when the three of them were together for some reason, but never when they were apart. Anyhow, Lorraine was seeing this man walk in with a black top hat. The woman, Andy or Drew, she always called him Andy. His name is Andrew. He doesn't understand why she ever called him Andy, and I ended up calling him Andy, so it was a big joke. But I want to see, I said, I want to see these spirits. I want to see this and see the apparition and see their likeness, And instead, Ed's asking if there are any spirits here, lift the table, right? And the table started to shake. Then it started to wobble. Then it started to really shake like the car did, right? Then it started to bouncing. Literally, this thing is bouncing. You hear the tape bouncing on all four legs. And Joe Hayjack's going, it's coming, and he's freaking out. And Donna's saying, calm down. And all of a sudden, my jaw dropped, and tears just streamed down my face. Lorraine, the sadness, I said, it was a grief that changed my life. Guys can hold back tears, right? This was overcoming me, and literally just cried my eyes out. And that changed my life forever. It'd be one thing to see a spirit, which I've still never done. 30 years now. Okay? But the emotion and the grief and the sadness that this woman felt because she had lost her child. Where is my baby? Can you imagine going to give birth? Ladies? And you all of a sudden, there's no baby in your body. Where's my baby? And there she remained in anguish. And it got really hairy throughout the night, and we eventually left because people were being eased down, literally being pushed gently down the stairs. Get out. We don't want you here. So Lorraine called it. She said, this is getting dangerous. We need to get out of here before somebody gets hurt. But when we went to go put our shoes on, is when started crying her eyes out again. Happened twice more in the car on the way down. I turned on the dome light, just tears streaming down my face. So they prayed for me and white lighted me and that type of thing. We had this connection, she and I. She wanted help. Don't leave, turn back. So at the time, I was writing a column called Hauntings for the Sacred Heart University Spectrum newspaper when I was working with the Warrens about all the cases that were going on, including this. And I was writing about it the next day in my home, and I called Lorraine and I said, that was really, really fascinating. When are we going back? We haven't even unpacked it. We didn't even look at any of the footage we recorded. Of course, that made perfect sense, and I said, have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow night at the meeting. I called back 2 minutes later. Lorraine, I really strongly feel like we need to go back there. Right? We don't have permission to return, Jason. We'll go over this tomorrow night. It's late. I'm going to go to sleep now. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye. 2 minutes later, I called back. Lorraine, Jason, right? Are you writing about this for your column? And I said, yes. You're drawing her right to you. Call Lorraine. Come out. I didn't know how to help her. Now I do. So, that's it. Good night. How much time do I have? Where's Rob? I'm going to keep going until midnight, whether you like it or not. Too bad. An hour. Excellent. Thank you, Spirit. So, it's funny, it's amazing to experience these things. And I'm so blessed and so privileged to have been able to work alongside of two remarkable people. Let's give it up for the Warrens. Everybody give it up. Always experienced anything but a genuine interest in helping people and so forth. So in this case, I actually met with Lorraine actually 2 springs ago, and I said, did you ever resolve that case? Because shortly afterwards, I'd gone out to Washington State. I decided I was going to get an English creative writing degree. And my dad said, you'll never make it as an author. You have to be a communications degree and, work and whatever. And I said, well, this is my passion. That's what I want to do. So I went out to Washington State, Eastern Washington University. And in the spring, Lorraine called me up and asked me to investigate a case in nearby Rathdrum, Idaho, on their behalf, representing the Warrens as the lead investigator, versus flying them out since I was right there. And I was elated. I was like, sure, that sounds great. I was also then writing a column called Hauntings for the Easterner newspaper, because they got word of this, and we flew them out for their big college lecture and everything. But this case was amazing. It had to deal with Indians, American Indians, and the family was involved in a cult, and they couldn't get out of it, and it was very serious what was going on there. But I had the opportunity to meet 2 of the family friends. One of the family friends owned a crystal store. She was a really powerful psychic woman. And when I went over to meet them, because they really wanted to meet me, I met this woman, Barbara, and her friend Valerie, and a scientist named Bruce. And those 3 people became some of my dearest, closest friends instantly and to this day. And they allowed me to open up my spirituality, because what we had tried to do, what we normally do, the Warrens always did everything through Catholicism, Catholic means. And I tried fumigation in the house, which is a Catholic ritual blessing using frankincense and myrrh, our Father, the Hail Mary, and the 23rd Psalm, less candles. But there were no demonic entities in the house, so they wouldn't be repelled by prayer. Okay? So it turned out that because they were Indian spirits, we had to approach everything from a different perspective. And that fascinated me, because it allowed me to really see these things. But the most amazing thing, I'm writing about that now. It's called Raging Rathdrum. In fact, pre-orders, people have ordered pre-orders, and it's been sidelined for a while. But now that's my next. That and the case in Vermont, which are 2 books I'm working on simultaneously right now, with about 60 pages in each. But the coolest thing was, I went to Barbara's store, Crystal Clear, one night before night class, and she asked me to close my eyes. And she pressed a stone of some sort up to my 3rd eye. And she asked, what do you see? And I said, I see a violet light. And after about 5 minutes, she asked, what do you see now? And I said, I see a white light. She said, you're a good boy. And then I went to night class, whatever that. I call them my psychic moms, because they were 20 years older than I was, and I was the newbie in blue juice. And so I went to night class, and I sat in the back row, because I'm considerate, because I'm so tall, I didn't want to block the view of other people. And all of a sudden, like a light switch turned on, I saw lightsaber bright colors around everybody. Single colors around everybody in front of me. I was like, wow. Right? I couldn't believe it. And it was a good 15 minutes. And I didn't look at myself for some reason. I think I have a teal aura, right? Teal, green, blue. But anyway, the professor was yellow. There were all the colors you can imagine. And after about 15 minutes later, I decided I better turn this off. I need to focus on the lesson, and that's kind of distracting me. It wasn't because I was afraid. In fact, I was elated. I was like, this is real. It's real. We have an auric field, which is very important. For some reason, I was able to see one color, but we have a mental field, an emotional field, and a spiritual field. Right? And depending on your spiritual connection to Creator or God or whoever you want to call that higher power, or Jesus, or the angels, or anybody, that dictates how strong that field is, and that's one layer of defense. Your emotional field, how even keel are you? Or are you freaked out and full of anxiety and depression? Because if you are, that's very diminished, right? It's emotional, mental, and spiritual. Anyway, I turned it off, and I have never to this day been able to turn it back on. Never. I've been at every psychic, at every convention that I do. I do all these huge conventions of great, all sizes. And there are all these incredible people that I meet, and they've all tried everything, from tuning forks to crystals to intentions, all that stuff. It was saying, this is real, we're showing this to you, but not now. Right? It's a future thing that's going to happen. And we can all do it. Right? But how much time time do we focus on honing our psychic abilities? Everybody close your eyes, if you will. Hold your hands up while looking up. Hold your hands up like this. Close your eyes. Press them really, really close together without touching and start to feel the heat. Then pull your hands apart a bit. Push back in. Until you start to feel a tangible energy field in between your hands. You don't feel anything? Okay. Keep at it. All right. So chronic healing, they teach you to do this. Press your palm. Wow. Press your other palm.
Okay.
Your mouth. Sounds really, really weird. What? Okay. That'll help you start to feel it better. But how much time do we focus on developing our psychic abilities? So probably less than an hour, if that, right? You want to become a master pianist, you practice 8 hours a day playing the piano. So we have to devote time to this. Anyway, that's a whole other seminar, I guess. So I finished my college education. Oh, I'm sorry. Backtrack. After that happened, I said, I'm going to start a Northwest Society for Paranormal Research right on campus to mirror the New England Society for Psychical Research that the Warrens created and start teaching people about everything that I learned, because it's important. And I'll put ads in the paper asking if people are having haunting phenomena that I can perhaps help them with. So, I'm out of time? 10 minutes left? An hour left? Oh, okay. Anyway, started to investigate cases there, but then I started to actually intuit information. So we have clear audience, which means we can hear. Clairvoyance, meaning we can see beyond the 1%. Clairsentience, meaning we just know things. Okay? And that's what I was picking up after she did that. Third eye activation. So what is the third eye activation? Our interdimensional connection. So I was picking up information. And I'd say, wow, I'm really amazing. I just picked that information up. I just picked it up. I got a letter from a woman. It was a handwritten letter in the mail. I just buried my husband. We see him in the house every night. I don't know what to do about it. Can you help? Okay? I'll take Valerie with me, the other one of my psychic moms. And she went with me, walked inside, and I said, your husband won't cross over because he feels very guilty about something that he's done. So let's get the whole family together. We'll ask him to sit down in front of one person, and they'll make their peace, and we'll go in a circle until everybody's done. And I said, who is Cat? And she said, well, that's what he called me. That's